Please welcome David Blazar, Associate Professor of Education Policy and Director of the Maryland Equity Project.
Good evening. My name is David Blazar. I'm a privileged, white, cisgender man who believes that the most important topic we need to address as an education community is the lack of racial diversity in the teaching profession. Why? Because Black teachers make an incredible difference in the lives of kids. Black teachers improve the lives of Black kids, and they improve the lives of all kids. As a former public school teacher, and now as a policy scholar, I've seen a lot of data. And these data convince me that no other educational program, policy, or intervention has as large an impact on the educational outcomes of minoritized students than the opportunity to work with a high-quality Black teacher. Building on the great work of Black scholars, including Gloria Ladson-Billings and Geneva Gay, my research shows that having a Black teacher accelerates students' academic performance by an additional half year of school. And these effects persist many years later. Having a Black teacher has even larger impacts on students' social and emotional development, including their self-confidence and their abilities to complete learning tasks, and their engagement and happiness in the classroom environment. Why do we see these effects on educational outcomes? One explanation is that Black teachers serve as strong role models for the Black students, exemplifying academic success and making their Black students feel successful too. Another complementary explanation is that Black teachers bring unique perspectives and cultural wealth that shapes their instruction and benefits all students. By surveying and looking inside the classrooms of hundreds of teachers across the country, my research shows that Black teachers are substantially more likely than their colleagues to believe that student intelligence is malleable rather than fixed, to build strong interpersonal relationships with students and their families, and to individualize instruction to meet the unique needs of their students. You don't have to be Black to be culturally connected to students and their communities, but the data suggests it helps. So, what does this mean? Black teachers matter, a lot. The second key message I want to leave you with today is that Black teachers are undervalued for their pedagogical excellence, and policymakers need to be deliberate in efforts to bring more Black individuals into the teaching profession. I'm a data person, so I'm going to tell you this part of the story with a couple of numbers and facts. In Maryland, roughly 1/3 of public school students are Black. A question for the audience, and feel free to shout out. What percent of these Black students go on to become teachers? I heard a couple of right answers. It is less than 1%. In comparison, of the 1/3 of Maryland public school students who are white, over 3 times as many go on to become teachers. And this results in a teacher workforce that is 70% white and 20% Black. These patterns are disheartening, in large part because they highlight systemic racism in our education system. Black students go on to become teachers at 1/3 of the rate of white students because education systems have failed to sufficiently support Black students to graduate from high school, enroll in college, and earn a bachelor's degree, all of which are prerequisites for becoming a teacher. We can and we will do better, which leads me to 2 recommendations for policy. The first recommendation is that any strategy to diversify the teacher workforce needs to think about a long pathway into the profession that begins with students' K-12 educational experiences. Recent policy efforts often focus on recruiting individuals already in close proximity to their careers, including offering financial incentives to college students to major in teaching, or providing alternative avenues for career changers to earn a teaching credential. We do a lot of this sort of work here at the University of Maryland. These strategies will help to some extent, and they're appealing because their effects on shifting teacher demographics can be seen relatively quickly. However, any strategy that does not provide more support to Black students to graduate from high school will fall short because they fail to address the root cause of the problem. Remember, 3 times as many white students go on to become teachers as Black students, with disparities emerging in K-12 contexts. So what might a policy strategy that begins earlier look like? Colleagues and I have recent evidence that providing high school students with an opportunity to explore teaching as a career and to earn college-level credits towards a degree in teaching not only increase high school graduation and college enrollment rates of Black students, but also increase the likelihood that they go on to become teachers by 30%. These programs need to be a focus of statewide efforts, such as those rolled out under the Blueprint for Maryland's Future, as well as programs that the University of Maryland commits to in our work with K-12 school districts and local communities. The second recommendation for policy is that these long-term strategies need to be race-conscious, meaning that they're developed for and implemented with Black communities. Now, this statement likely seems obvious. Of course, we need race-conscious perspectives if the goal is to bring more Black individuals into teaching. However, we as a US and global society have a very difficult time allocating high-quality resources in an equitable way and in support of minoritized populations. Particularly for common goods like public education, we tend to focus on equality. After all, the saying goes that a rising tide lifts all boats. We need to push back. Without race-conscious perspectives and approaches, nothing will change. Not for Black individuals with great potential to become great teachers, and not for future generations of students who might learn from these teachers. This truth likely explains why teacher demographics have largely remained unchanged for decades and decades and decades, despite some policy interest. Black teachers matter, and Black students are the future of the profession. Thank you.